My name's Hampton, or as the people at Starbucks know me, Hamilton, apparently, this delicious Frappuccino. You can follow me at @HCatlin. I'm desperate for attention, so please follow me. You guys probably best know me for Sass, the CSS language. I'm the original creator of it, but most of the work is due to these guys, so I just always like to give them credit because these guys rock. Nathan, who's worked on the core library forever and a half, and Chris, who's actually speaking at 5:30, the inventor of Compass and a big contributor. Awesome guys who made Sass amazing. But I'm not here to talk about Sass today. I'm going to actually talk about the 6 rules of mobile design. Yeah, it's what I've actually been doing for the last 2 years, has all been kind of mobile stuff. I've been writing as much CSS as I could be. And I've been working at a company called MoveWeb. We're launching soon, so you've probably never heard of us, but hopefully you will soon. Basically what we do is we take this and make it into this. And we do this for an awful lot of very, very large companies. Typically the ones with the hardest things to, like the hardest sites to build. And we kind of have, like, we're a technology company, we make it easy to mobilize sites. So how did I get into that? Apparently I have 2 slides of that. I actually got started doing mobile at the Wikimedia Foundation. You guys back there? I think so. I haven't actually worked there in a couple of years, but basically a friend of mine came to me. I was living in Toronto at the time, and I didn't even own an iPhone, and she was just complaining we were having wine or something. She's like, I hate Wikipedia on my phone, this sucks. And I was like, I bet I could fix that. So I downloaded the SDK without a phone, and I built the first version of a thing called iWik. Which was basically Wikipedia for your iPhone, was the title of it. And then I got contacted by the lovely legal department at Wikimedia saying, hey, look, you can't call it Wikipedia. You can't have that in your title. We have it trademarked. And I was like, well, why don't we just work together on this? And so we did. So what I did for about, I think it was actually 3 years, was run the thing you have on the right, where you take Wikipedia, make it into a mobile website. Yeah, so through that, I'm going to kind of be using this as the main example. Can you guys hear me in the back? Am I good to? Okay, all right, good. I'm going to kind of use this as the example, because this is like, you know, early days. This is not the current design. I think the designer of the new, much better looking design, which I'll show you later, is here, but this is the old one that I did. And we kind of use my rules and step through what the design process was. And, you know, basically, now the company I'm now, we do this for big companies over and over and over again. So the layout of the talk is I'm going to kind of talk about the challenge of mobile. I'm mostly talking about web, though a lot of this applies to apps too. I'm even going to talk about one of the apps I've done. And, but yeah, we're going to talk about the challenge. We're going to talk about, you have to understand mobile, right, to understand what we're actually doing. I'm going to go through the rules that I have. They're the perfect rules, by the way. They're exactly correct. They're laws, really. I think I should rename them. And then, yeah, I'm going to show you in more detail the design process that I went through with Wikipedia Mobile. First, a little note. I fancy myself a kind of product designer. And so, you know, what does that mean? Oh, wow. That's not clear. Those are 2 circles. Yeah, the joke's totally not going to work now. So there's graphic designers that look like hipster barista. There's software designers. That's a childhood photo of me. And then there's kind of UI people. But really UI people, it just shrank, by the way. It got really tiny. Just imagine it. It's beautiful. Because UI is not as much of a, right? It's like, some places it's a job, sometimes it's everyone's responsibility, right? There's a whole thing there. And I kind of fit in, that's in the area between UI and software, which is just kind of a horrible place to be. And what that really means is that my shit is ugly, but usable and scalable. So yay, UI software people. And that explains why Wikipedia was so ugly for so long. So let's talk a little bit more about the challenge and why this is a challenge and why it's important. Or as I like to call this segment, it's kind of the duh part. Like, it doesn't take much to convince people that mobile is important, right? Like, I mean, come on, like, my grandmother's like, oh, mobile, you're in mobile, that's awesome, that's important. She doesn't know how to use a phone, but mobile usage is increasing very, very quickly. The hard part is we're used to, especially on the web, we're used to developing, was the microphone on now? Oh, I've been just shouting by the side of it. The recording's gonna be all silent, I think, up till that point. So we have this beautiful display that you're designing for, right? This is, we've worked years on this. Most of my career is how do we lay this out? And then, this comes along, this tiny little screen, and somehow all the beauty and all the experience we have here, we've got to jam down on this little screen. So I call that a challenge. And then we need to understand, actually, I'm going to make a little side note on the small screen thing. My mom years ago was interviewed in the New York Times about, she's an interior designer, and so they're asking, like, what's the home of the future going to be like? And she's like, oh, audio. People are going to talk to their homes. And I was like in high school at the time, I think it was like 99 or something like that. And I was like, Mom, you are so wrong. You are so wrong. Nobody ever wants to talk to anything. It doesn't work. It's slow. You misunderstand each other. People just want a nice little screen. And so I feel like when I'm approaching this challenge, and by working in this field, I'm just proving my mom wrong over and over again. Because yeah, who here only uses Siri when you're drunk with your friends and make it say stupid shit? Me. I'm like, Siri, where's the Palace Hotel? I do not understand. All right, hold on. All right, let's get back to it. So now we need to understand mobile, right? What is it to be mobile? It was really easy before. We knew people were sitting probably at work or at home in a chair with a monitor and they were committed to what they were doing. That does not really apply anymore. People are distracted on mobile devices. You probably have 3 to 5 minutes at max to make something happen. We work with a lot of e-commerce customers, so for them, the something happen is you bought something. Amazon one-click was a lot more valuable to them than I think they ever thought, because you're like, oh, done. But you have about 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes it's at home. There's a lot of mobile usage at home, and a lot of it's while on the go. And just the situation somebody could find themselves in while trying to do this is very, very different. It depends on the application a lot. So this is my completely kind of off the cuff, completely incomplete. Is that possible? I think it is. So basically like e-commerce, the goal, you want to buy something, maybe check the price. Of course, if you're actually the e-commerce person, you don't want them to check the price, you want them to buy something. It's like on demand, and then, usually you're sitting at home. Sometimes I'll do it after a bottle of wine. I'll be like, oh, I need to buy a fan. Click, 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 one click, done. There's a theme through all this, by the way. When you're looking at prices, that's going to be in store. There's social when you're messaging a friend. A lot of times you're walking, you're like, oh shit, what's their phone number? I need to message them, right? We've all done that. And then there's there's the B where you're just browsing. Oh, what are my friends doing? I'm kind of bored. I'm waiting somewhere, as we see over there. So just working this kind of stuff out, seeing what your application, really thinking about what people are doing, what are their goals, right? The challenge is people aren't just, they used to have a lot more patience on the desktop. Like, oh, I'll click through and oh, there's a flash video, terms of service, oh, there's a pop-up, don't want to do a survey. On the mobile device, you're out, right? I mean, I'm sure we've all done this. Like, what? No, close it. So I'm going to kind of go through the rules. Start with the first one. On mobile, simplicity is a requirement. It's not, like, I remember, was it Nielsen? He was just always like, oh, make your experience simple, make it simple. Oh, it doesn't really matter, whatever, just throw all the shit on the screen. The guy in marketing wants a button to do this, sure, whatever, it doesn't matter, nobody's gonna click it. It's a requirement on mobile. You cannot, every button that's there, every feature that it implements is important and needs to be there. Or sorry, needs to be really thought through. So I have to use DRAMs, because whatever. It's like requisite in my mind. Good design is as little design as possible. I love that. If you don't know much about Dieter Rams, read all of his rules. They're much better than mine. But it's as little design as possible, right? You want things to get out of the way. You want to use stuff and not have to think about it, right? He was a famous designer of all these awesome consumer goods and really changed the way the consumer goods were made. And you really have to, it's utilitarian, right? What you're doing, I mean, what he did was art, but it was utilitarian art, and that's very, very important. You're thing has a task. It doesn't matter how good your test cases are in the back end or your database is double optimized. Your users don't give a shit. They want something simple and they want something powerful. And let's look at some simple design that we've been doing on the desktop. Yeah, it doesn't really work very well on mobile. A couple of these companies here will not do mobile sites for some reason. But yeah, this is not okay. No double click to zoom or whatever they used to, that does not solve it, right? It's horrible. This is information overload. It ruins your experience. Simplicity is required here. The next rule, to explain simplicity, what I mean by that, right? Because that could mean a lot of different things. It's between comprehension and brevity. Brevity being kind of minimalism or just, what's the smallest thing I could make, but then you also have to make it understandable. Clearly if your site's one big button and it doesn't have any text on it, that is the most minimal design you could have. But it's not a very good design because it doesn't explain anything to the user. So here's some examples, and I'm using Wikipedia in this one. This is comprehension. This is this used to be crazier. I'm sure you guys remember it. This is after the redesign, so it's simplified. But we have all these different options. I can do advanced. The page just keeps going on after this. There's lots of things. It makes lots of sense. You know exactly what's going on. You can find what you need, right? And then this is kind of brevity. So just put that at the top of the page, right? But it doesn't, I don't know what that is. What am I doing with it? What am I supposed to do? There's no hints here. And so then simplicity, it's like, okay, we have a little bit of branding, and we know there's a search bar because I'm told it's a search bar. So that is, simplicity is a balance between that comprehension and brevity, and they should always be in a tug of war. And like I said on the desktop, it used to not matter that much, right? Oh, whatever, I had a couple buttons because somebody asked for it. Like, that really matters on mobile. So the thing that you're really doing while that process is occurring is you have to figure out what your core value proposition is. I'm always on about that with everything I'm involved in. Like, what is that thing doing? You really, and oftentimes the person who's closest to the product wants it to be everything. Like, what is your product? Oh, it's an experience towards enlightenment of mankind, communication network. Oh, so you send a tweet? Like, all right, I get it. But you have to realize, and I think to make a great design, you have to know, like, when you're designing a product, I'm designing a hairdryer, I just need it to be a hairdryer. I mean, I want to make the experience great. I think we'll take that as red, right? We don't want it to be bad. But it's a hairdryer. It needs, how well it dries hair is the definition of its quality. So let's see how we figure out, I'm going to do the core value proposition stuff on Wikipedia. What do people do on Wikipedia while on the go? They read. Small caveat, and edit. I know that the guys are working on editing now, finally, because I was just like, yep, let's just focus on the reading, right? Especially early on, right? Like, to nail editing is really hard. Like, we have to nail reading before you get to editing. So, for me, the design process was read. This is about getting some information as quickly as possible. Like, hey, I can't remember who invented the television, right? So this is the process that people go through. Open the browser, Google the word television, and then click on the Wikipedia link, and then read. That's the process we want. That is exact, and then we don't care if they close it. I don't care. Sure, whatever, maybe donate if you want. There's a text message thing, but read. That's, you want to find out this information, and that is our goal. So you really need to understand that core value proposition, and even when, at the foundation, it's like, obviously we believe in collaborative editing, and we believe in a community, and all those things, and those are totally, completely important, but 98% of the people on the site read. Now you want to maximize editing to increase stuff, but it's like, you can't ignore that, right? The next one is, where is more important than who? So where do you think people use mobile apps? I'm gonna talk, and this is very specifically, well, there's 4 places they use it: home, transit, bars, and the toilet. Where people use Wikipedia Mobile is, they don't really do it on transit. I mean, somewhat, right? But you're like moving, you're like, oh, what? Home, somewhat, but like, whatever. People do use it on the toilet, definitely, that's definitely there, but the #1 thing is bars. Far and away. As a matter of fact, this is I grabbed this chart only a couple months ago, and how It used to be much more pronounced. Now mobile usage is spread much more evenly around the world where cultural differences and stuff like that. But you can still see it, and it's on the left there. I believe this was taken over a 3-day weekend. You can see those spikes in the middle of the daily spikes there. So that is bar hours, Friday, Saturday night. People are using Wikipedia Mobile over and over again because it's like, hey, no, I'll tell you who starred in that film. You're like, I win. I spent 2 years of my life on that. 3, whatever. Yeah, so where is really important, right? Because that teaches us a lot about, that's why read, right? They're not, it's less, I'm gonna have a moment and commune with the wonderful Wikimedia community. I want to read something now. I'm not paying attention very long. Like, oh, if 3G is not good, you're off. Which brings me to the next one, assume terrible dexterity. I love this picture for some reason. It's gross, but it's like thumb hand. Assume that they're not very good at touching the screen. Little ninja swipes and cleverness need not apply. It's not going to work. You're just gonna have angry users. And then back to my previous point, your users are probably drunk. So what I recommend, and I'm not joking about this, is when we finish a mobile design, hand it to a child, a drunk person, and an old person. If 2 of them can figure it out, you have got a fantastic design. It will work perfectly and people will love it. If they can't figure it out, then your users aren't either. Because even though they are better with the device, they're distracted, as we said, they don't have much time, and their patience is very, very low. So assume terrible dexterity. The final rule is the footer is a dead zone. So typically stuff like legal notices, sometimes search will be at the bottom. Actually, we've actually been experimenting with putting search at the bottom of pages, because if you've gone down to the bottom, you didn't find the thing you wanted. So I guess I am going against my own rule. It's a good place to start. No, but basically the footer though, on mobile, on a desktop, it's often visible. People will get down there pretty quickly, as long as it's not a super long page. But on mobile, it's a graveyard. You have to put stuff in the header. Like, that's where all your interaction needs to happen. Like, it's not gonna happen anywhere else on the page. Once you've gotten to the content, you can pretty much only fit, one thing at a time wide. So you're not gonna just keep scrolling. People have either lost interest by a point or move on. So it needs to be up at the top. So let's go through my design process, shall we? So this is Wikipedia. And I'm going to kind of walk through what I mentally did to come up with the original Wikipedia design, or at least what should be there. So first of all, that giant logo is lovely, but not needed. I don't need to see that whole corner. Also, there's all these links on the left. On the desktop, you just ignore them instantaneously, but that we can't fit. That needs to go. There's article and talk. There's a nice little tabbing system that helps you understand that you can tab between the 2 pages, but that doesn't make any sense when we're just reading. All those can go. How about that? We can't log in. Get rid of that. It says it's from Wikipedia right below it. You're like, there's a giant logo next to that. I noticed. Okay, I got rid of that. Some people in the community weren't happy about that. I think it appears now, but I was like, those little notices, I'm like, yeah, let's get rid of that. This is kind of a problem area. Obviously, it's taking up a whole lot of screen real estate, so we need to come up with a way to deal with that. And then, obviously, it's not using the space very well. There's this kind of black hole of trapped white space there, just glaring in the middle of the sushi article. Sorry, I don't like trapped white space. All right, so let's get rid of those marks, and let's go from the opposite, not what we're removing, but what we're keeping. And it basically turns out to be that. And I was like, okay, I need to fit all of this on a page that I can use on a mobile device. But one of the problems, so this has actually been fixed now in Wikipedia, but at the time it was a big problem, and especially pronounced on mobile, which is the search bar. It used to be the search bar, you would enter a term, and then you had 2 buttons to click. One was search and one was go. So basically, if you searched, you always got a list. If the article existed, it didn't matter. If you typed in sushi, if you hit search, you'd get every article with the word sushi in it. If you hit go, you rolled the dice whether or not there was an article. If there wasn't an article, it would ask you if you wanted to make a new article and not give you suggestions. So I was like, we need to fix this. So basically what I did in the background was issue 2 simultaneous requests to both search and do a lookup at the same time for every single person who ever searched Wikipedia Mobile for many years. And then made a decision about whether or not that page existed. Because I was like, yes, I can see the use case that, okay, I really am looking for a word to exist. I'm not looking for the article sushi, I'm looking for what articles talk about sushi. And I think on the desktop, that's totally a valid use case. But I'm like, nobody's doing that on mobile. Oh, I'm typing in sushi search. I'm just interested in finding out about sushi across Wikipedia. So simplified this thing up to the point of it was kind of not very performant for the actual site. So we have this. One of the things I did for a while was I actually, actually got rid of the title because you can see the word sushi's up in the search bar. I wouldn't say this was a whole success. People got a little confused, but basically if you clicked on the article, I was like, wait, you search for it, it says sushi, and then it would say sushi below it. And I'm like, wait, let's just use the search bar as the title place too. So that was it for a while, and it kind of looked like this. So if I go to the user experience article, it would say user experience up in the box. And then we're supposed to have a little clear thing, but that never worked right. Yeah, so this is the design, super minimalist. You already saw the search bar, and I'm sure you guys have seen this before. But so this is like a quick little walkthrough. We did the home page. It was kind of hacked together. Had to do one for each language because they're kind of free form. So I had to write like a little wrapper for each one of them. The search is there. You can search, if you search for something wrong, it just issued 2 background requests. It found the list of, there's only 1? That's weird. Oh, with 2 eyes, right? So you can change it, you actually get the proper article there. Then we had to, if you go down, now we use this whole folding system. This is, I believe it's still like this, right? I used it, yeah, okay. Yeah, I purposely though, see that line beneath there? I knew that was ugly. I did it because I thought that it would prompt somebody who was really good at CSS or a proper graphic designer to come in and fix it, and they never did. So that every day people saw that, it must have gone, yeah, that's ugly. It was a prank. Like, it wasn't I mean, I thought that would be like, oh, I can fix that. Let me do a little patch and move it. No. Open source and creative people, not necessarily overlapping is what I discovered there. Yeah, so well, and here's the redesign that I think they launched about a year ago. Much cleaner at the top. All the janky weirdness with the stuff is gone. Much cleaner. I'm so glad somebody took it. When you touch it, I think the beta version has like a cool thing that swipes in, then my little pop in and out button thing. Anyhow, so it's getting much better. So let me go over one other application that I did. This is a native application. I don't talk about this one too much, but I definitely think it's probably the nicest thing I think I've ever made. Dictionary. Does anybody here use Dictionary? Okay, there's some. All right. Yeah, so I made that. I don't know if you put the 2 together. I keep like meeting people and I'll see on their phone, they're like, oh, you did that? I was like, yeah, I did. So yeah, so Dictionary is a dictionary for your iPhone, also for WebOS, and I'm about to release the Android version because it's been like in development forever and a half. So basically what happened was I was like sitting in bed, this is before I had a Kindle, and I was reading, and I came upon a word I didn't know. I just got my iPhone with the money I got for building the Wikipedia, or the iWik thing. It's true. And then, I wanted to look up a word. Google was okay. The definitions weren't great. It took too long. I needed internet connection. It was kind of lagging in the bedroom. And I was like, yeah, hold on. I'm going to make a thing to make this experience I'm having right now. There must be other people with their phone going, I just want to look up this word really quick. Please help me. So it's a native application, English language dictionary. It was #1 in the App Store forever. I think it's #2 for dictionaries. Sorry. Well, it was like for a week, solid #1, which is pretty cool. But yeah, for dictionaries, #1, like 8.6 million users, which is crazy. And then like about 5,000. Actually, today was a couple days ago, but whatever. But yeah, 5,000 users a day. And I haven't like touched this thing in forever. It will occasionally crash on iOS 6, so I'll work on it. No, and by the way, a little story about this, because I'll get to the design though. So dictionary.com is owned by IAC, Interactive Core. They own like ask.com and like a million other web properties. This big, powerful, mega conglomerate company. And I think I really annoyed them because they were #2 forever. And they kept like redoing the app like completely from scratch. Like every 2 months there was like a new version for like a year, and I think I spent like 3 or 4 weeks on the initial version of Dictionary. I don't know, I just love that at like the headquarters, like somebody was like nearly getting fired every week. They're like, oh, why can't you beat him? Like, and it was just like me in my underwear at home, like hanging out, like, I don't know. And this is actually, I mean, you'll see, it's based on simplicity. Like, I think that's what mostly drove them crazy. The dictionary is not very good, to be honest. It's WordNet, which is like supposed to be for grammar geeks to figure out stuff with. I stripped all that out. The definitions aren't fantastic. There are a lot of words not in there. They had like Merriam-Webster's, like adds and swipes and coolness, and I don't know, still beat them. It was fun. But here we go. So here's some of the design goals, right, that made it happen. First of all, you want to look up a word and then leave. I'm not trying to make them have an experience. I don't want them to sit around in my app. I mean, if you want to click an ad, please click the ad. But I don't need you to sit around, right? Other ones would have things like, word of the day is the first thing you got, or like, want to play a puzzler? And I'm like, no, I'm looking up a word. Get out of my way. I'm busy. So here are some of the requirements. I wanted the data on the device. I didn't want you to have like this was the iPod Touch was, I mean, still really popular, I guess. But I didn't want people to have an internet connection. Also built into this one is I want them to be able to download the application over the air, which at the time I think was 20 megabytes. It's now higher. So I had to make sure that my final application with the dictionary in it fit underneath 20 megabytes, which this is why it took 3 weeks. Like the user interface wasn't hard. It's one of those rare instances in my career as a developer where no actually diving super deep into code was the right answer to the problem to get that done. And I did, so that's good. Search as you type. Okay, it would have been easy just to put the dictionary in there, but I wanted it to be as you type, the word list is updating instantaneously without any delay and without the thing sticking. Also, fuzzy search. I want you to be able to misspell the word. Do naive with a Y on the end or something like that, right? And also, as I said, it needs to be super quick. So that was the design requirement. So it had to be super small. I couldn't put a big index. I kept having things where the index was giant and then, it was like like 100 megabytes. I can't do that. So yeah, it took a lot of finagling here to get that done, but I got it. So this is what it looked like on the left. You can't really see the gray background. So that's the iPhone version. Oh, when you first start, the keyboard just comes up. There is not a version of this where the keyboard isn't the first thing that shows up. Because I don't want to go click. Having to wait for it to load and then click is terrible. So as it's loading, you see the half render screen, and then your keyboard just pops up, and you're ready to go, and you start typing, and then you're off and you're looking for your word. Here on the left, on the right is the iPad version. Just put the word list on the left. Definitions, we decided to include them kind of in the right on the same page. On the other one, if you click, you have to go in one level. You can look it up on, you can look up synonyms, you can look up pronunciation, you can do all these things. And it's just super, super, super simple. Feel free to download either one of these. They're both free, so. But yeah, it's just single purpose, right? Single-minded. It does one thing. I want a word, I want a definition, get it done and get it out there. And 8.6 million users, and poor dictionary.com people, adding features and doing all sorts of stuff. I mean, I've barely changed it since it first came out, just updates to make it not crash in various versions. But yeah, I'm super proud of it. Please play with it. It's really cool. So let's just go over the rules one more time. On mobile, simplicity is a requirement. It is not optional. You cannot mess with this stuff. It's a balance between, simplicity is the balance between comprehension and brevity, right? Those two forces need to be fighting. If they're not fighting in your head, then you're not designing. Number 3, understand and optimize your core value proposition. Make sure that thing happens. Make sure when they look for a word, they can find it. Make sure if they're reading, they're doing it. If they want to send a text message, make sure that happens, right? That's the number one thing. By the way, iMessage design. Sorry, have they not totally failed at that on the desktop? Anybody use that? Holy crud. I want to send a message to a person. You type in their name. Oh no, I have to go click to a menu to add a new conversation and then go to a different thing to type. Seriously? It's chat. I thought we solved this, people. Sorry, I'm not ranty at all. where is more important than who? So really think about what your users are doing, right? And that definitely relates to your core value proposition. What's that thing you're really delivering, and why are they on a mobile device looking for this? And if you can understand that, you're in a really good spot. Assume they have really bad dexterity, drunk people, old people, children, the holy trinity. The footer is a dead zone, usually. You need to either move stuff out of it. Don't put a little login down there. They probably won't see it. Bad call. So I'm done with the mobile design part, but I'm going to tack on a surprise announcement. It says it right there. So I don't know if you guys know about this, but I think I have the animation. Yeah. libsass has been in development for the last 6 months. Who here uses Sass? All right. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a CSS super language, I guess the right word? Or like, it extends CSS, it adds a whole bunch of cool stuff to it. And it's been around now for 4 or 5 years, something like that. Basically, Sass is written in Ruby, so at MoveWeb, our toolkit is a compiled framework and SDK that you can install, beta.moveweb.com. So we didn't want to include Ruby in the whole stack, right? To make sure you have to install this like 100 megabytes of Ruby just to get the Sass compiler, because we wanted to have Sass in our framework. So why not just write it in C or C++? And that's what Aaron has been doing at MoveWeb with me. He's been spending the last 6 months. Oh, it's even darker than the normal picture. It looks kind of creepy. Totally not creepy. No, so he's like super smart compiler guy, like brilliant. And I can't believe we're so lucky to have him. He's been working nonstop on this. And basically, the design, it's a C interface with C++ internals, because we didn't want to do some of that stuff. But you can, anything that has a C interface, you can wrap it, put it in your favorite language. Statically linkable, just drop in, it's a couple files. It's not a big deal, you don't have to worry about libs and whatever and what's installed and that. You can just drop it in and compile your application. It's small-ish, you know. Actually, I know that number of lines, but we wanted to try to keep it as compact as possible so that you can just drop it in and it's not like some crazy giant thing. Super simple interface, and we wanted it to be fast. And support Sass 3.1 style features. There's some 3.2 stuff that's coming out or is just out, and we're not covering all those yet. Basically, MoveWeb sponsors it. We are 6 months in. We've been using it in production for about 4 months. We need more adapters. These are the benchmarks. It's about 100 times faster. I don't know, people with giant Sass projects, our compile time, I'll tell you, MoveWeb can sometimes take 30 seconds for something that isn't cached. So deployment's total pain in the ass. Oh yeah, you can't even see the little line, sorry. Just, there's like a little green thing, but it's like nothing. It's super ridiculously fast. And so what I'm announcing is 1.0. We just tagged it today. We're finally ready to say it's good to go. It supports Bourbon. Is Chris here? Sorry. Because Bourbon doesn't have any native features, so that's a library of Sass functions. Supports that fully. We've been using it in production for 4 months, live up on lots of major company websites. We've been compiling it and a bunch of advanced users using it. There's the link to it if you haven't gone there. There's also, I wanted to pimp Node Sass. So there's a Node.js binding for libsass. So somebody was tweeting about it, asking about it. So if you use Node, you can use Sass now. Compass support is coming in 1.1 when we get those native interfaces working. So go forth and adapterize. It's 1.0, it's ready. Go mess with it, go try to break it. If anything's broken, it's definitely a huge bug, but we're pretty confident that it's very solid at this point. All right, so I just wanted to say, Michael helped me with all these slides, my husband, and he's not here, and I always like to give him some credit because I didn't do all the pretty things myself. Follow me at @Catlin. Like I said, I like attention. Wow. You're welcome, everyone. All right, well, I think we have, oh, are we done now? We're done. It's 20, isn't it? All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to me ramble. I appreciate it.